will go to the next speaker. Is Agustín Gutierrez. Is an associate professor at the University of Barcelona with 25 years of experience in the field of chemical sensing. He has led 7 research projects as principal investigator and is currently the coordinator of the European project SNIFFIRDRONE. Agustín explain us this European project, the SNIFFIRDRONE. Okay.
Hello, thank you. Thank you, Gloria.
Hello, Agustín.
Yeah. Please, can you presentation mode or that should be fine,
No,
right?
it's the PDF.
Okay. Yeah, but if you do Control L, maybe it goes to full screen or not. Well, whatever it is. Okay, so I will go with it. Sorry about all this mess. Yeah, well, but so thank you, Gloria, for the presentation. So I'm Agustín Gutierrez, professor at the University of Barcelona. I'm coordinator of the SNIFFIRDRONE Project, which is what I'm gonna tell you about. So I want to tell you what we have done during this project, these 3 years already of project, the objectives that we have, and the results that we already have. So in this slide, you can see that this SNIFFIRDRONE project is a European project that belongs to the ATTRACT call, which is a call, a special call, which is multidisciplinary, thought to bring instruments to a technological high level, so to be commercialized afterwards. And it is a cascade mode funding, in the sense that they have a big project in which they assign six projects between them. We are one of them. They are quite big. They are 2 million euros project, and is composed of 6 partners. So we are 2 universities, University of Barcelona, University of Lancaster. We have 2 companies, DAM, which is, well, unfortunately, well, if you go back, Gloria, to DAM, which is, sorry, yeah, thank you. DAM, which is unfortunately not active any longer. GSS also, which is a company in Scotland that do sensor fabrication, chemical sensor fabrication, and 2 research institutes, IBEC and SINTEF. So the main idea of the project is to build and demonstrate a drone-based system to monitor volatile chemicals and others emitted by wastewater treatment plants. So yeah, now if you can just go to the following slide. Thank you. So the main idea of the project is, well, use a drone as a mobile platform with an IOMS, with an instrumental odor monitoring system mounted on the drone to monitor chemical sensors, to monitor volatile chemicals and also odors. We wanted to test this in initially three wastewater treatment plants. So finally it was 3, but considering that Pinedo is 2 in 1, so probably we can say that we have tested in 4, plus 1 composting plant. So the novelty of the project is, well, the drone operation, of course. So being able to have this mobile platform that moves around the plant and having real-time measurements. Also, that we're able to calibrate in-flight conditions with transient signals. So basically, the signals that we have on the drone on real time is what we use to calibrate our models to estimate the odor. And also, I was a little bit ahead of myself here, the development of algorithm to predict human odor evaluation. So basically, from the odor readings, have a model that from the sensor readings is able to predict the odor perception. And of course, the drone brings us the possibility of do a regular and fast measurements on any plant that we want to do. Okay, good. So now we go to the following slide, which is the specific objectives that we had initially on our project, which are first, we wanted to develop a high-performance multigas NDIR sensing unit. So basically, we wanted to have a optical-based chemical sensor that was light enough, fast enough, and that the consumption was low enough to be mounted on a drone, something that with commercial units was not able. up until now. The second objective was to bring this unit to a matureness a level of technology to be able to be commercialized. The third was, with these two elements, we wanted to have mappings of wastewater treatment plants emissions. So basically have readings of the chemical volatiles. And along with that, we have goal 4, which was not only the chemical volatiles, but also the odors is something that we wanted to monitor. So have also a map of odors of these wastewater treatment plants. We wanted to show also the flexibility of the platform, this platform, to not limit it ourselves to wastewater treatment plants. And we also, at the end of the project, we tested in a composting plant. And finally, well, the final goal, along with the goals of the call, was to bring all this system to a mature, technological mature level. Okay, next slide. So the overall outcome, as I said, this project started in 2022, so it's been 3 years already, and it's finishing actually at the end of this month. So, and we already have the results of the project, and the overall outcome is what you can see here. So in the center part, you can see our drone-based odor monitoring system, in which we have our drone with the, I cannot point, but if the elements that are mounted on the drone are the near IR unit, which is on the right of the drone picture. And also at the bottom, we can see an IOMS, right here, IOMS, along with a sampler, with an air sampler, because we not only need to measure to have the sensors mounted on the drone, which is what we have here, but also a sampler that allows us to collect air samples in order to bring them to a human panel afterwards. And the base station that is just to control everything all together. And so with this system, we were able to do 3D maps of environmental pollution, 3D maps of environmental odor on the certain wastewater treatment plants. And also we developed an application, which is this map of Spain that you have here on the right at the bottom, where, here, this was a video, so we cannot see that here in the PDF, but the idea is that you can click on each one of these locations, which are the locations of the wastewater treatment plants that we have measured. And then you go to a more detailed map of the plant where you can see the emissions. So you can see the specific measurements that we have done, a map of the emissions, and also a map of the others. Okay, we can go to the next slide. Thank you. So of course, before we go to measure in plants, what we did was a characterization of our instrument. We did several characterization tests. So to characterize the IR sensing unit, basically what we did was lab experiments in controlled conditions of temperature, relative humidity, where we were exposing methane and ammonia to our sensor, which is the two gases that is able to sense. And what we can see here, top left part of these figures here, that they were exposed to 25 and 50 ppms of methane, and we can see that they have a nice response. So we can say that we have a resolution on the order of ppms on methane. And also we expose ammonia, 200 ppms of ammonia, in which we have a response as well. So if we look at the bottom now, one thing that we wanted to obtain with this system is being able to have, to some extent, a good resolution of the mapping of the plumes that we can see in any plant. So to do that, we have to have a fast response. So we have to have a good temporal resolution. We have to have also a good spatial resolution. So for the temporal resolution, For the temporal resolution, it was very important for the sensors to respond fast. And to test this, what we did is to build these wind tunnels that we see, this wind tunnel that we see at the bottom right, where we just have a fan that is creating a plume. And on the other end of the tunnel, we have our sensors. And we can see that this allowed us to check response of our system on the order of seconds. So we have a temporal resolution on the order of seconds. And finally, before we went to the plan, of course, we wanted to test the entire system together. So we had to do flights, and to do flights in a safe way, what we did was to use the drone lab that is in Castelldefels, which is a closed area in which you can just fly your drone without any limitation, and where you can test for hours your system. We can move to the next slide now, Gloria. Thank you. So during these 3 years of project, we have tested our system in all these plants that you can see here. So we have 4, considering that Pinedo is 2, 4 wastewater treatment plants, 1 composting plant, and actually next week we are going to measure in Friselva, Girona, which is a pork meat industry. So on total, we have done 18 measuring campaigns, which are 2 days per campaign. Our campaigns consist in flying our drone or going with our instrument by foot, doing measurements with the chemical sensors, but at the same time taking air samples and bringing these air samples to do olfactometries. And we ended up with a total of 128 olfactometries at the end of the project, which is quite a good number. Yeah, I think we can move to the next. Yeah. So the final results that we obtained, and we wanted to highlight this, because it was one of the important aspects that we were targeting, was first the fast response of the chemical sensor array unit, which is mostly based on the small size of the sensor chambers that we were able to build, which is something that you can see on the top left part of the figures. So these chambers is what you have there. So we were able to reduce a lot, and they allow us to have a sensor response which is of around 3 seconds, which give us a good temporal resolution. We have also a high specific multi-gas and direct sensor unit for ammonia and methane, with low weight and low power consumption, which is what you can see exactly here in the figure at the bottom, where you can see that is very specific. Here is presented with ammonia and methane, and also with 3 other compounds, and it only responds to these 2. And on the right-hand part of the figures, we can see a concentration map of wastewater treatment plant. In this case, a concentration map of Molina de Segura in Murcia, where we can see that we have this color-coded intensity of the odor. And at the bottom, we can see, well, sorry, this is concentration. The upper part is concentration. At the bottom, we can see the odor map in the wastewater treatment plant of Torredembarra. Okay, so we'll go to the next one. Yeah, so in the final slides, what I wanted to do is to highlight one of the, I would say, important parts of this of a project like this, which is the calibration model between the IOMS, the instrumental odor monitoring system, the chemical sensors, and the odor. So basically, the idea is that we built a model for each plant that we go. So we have a model that is able to predict from the sensor responses the odor that the human panel is predicting. When I say odor, we are limiting to odor concentration, which is what we are studying here. So we have a model that transforms sensor responses to odor concentration. And an interesting aspect is to see if this model is maintained across plants, because that will be very helpful in the sense that you can just test it with one plant and then use it for the rest. And what we can observe is that something that doesn't happen in general. So we can see here 3 models on 3 different wastewater treatment plants, Molina de Segura, Torredembarra, and Pinedo, where the models are slightly different. And not only this, but the sensors that they use to do this prediction are also, they're chosen to be different. So in general, what we can see is that this model is something that is not maintained. Furthermore, and if we go to the following slide, if we try to use a model that we obtained from, in this case, from one of the plants, in this case of the plant of Torredembarra. If we try to use this data, so data of Torredembarra, so training our model on Torredembarra and use it in another wastewater treatment plant, in this case, Molina de Segura, what we can see is that the errors that we obtain increase tremendously. So we can see the bias here, if you can look at the table. So the bias goes from 1 to 6.88, the standard deviation doesn't move that much, but the error, the root mean square error goes from 2 to 8, and the correlation lowers from 0.8 to 0.66. This shows us that a direct application of the calibration of one plant to another doesn't work. So next slide, thank you. Yeah, and the good thing about this project is that now we have all this data that we can leverage in order to find a way of transforming the model of one plant to another plant, which is something that we're working with. We don't have final results yet, but it's something that is very interesting in order to reduce all the cost of calibration and recalibration. So one thing that we had to do is to observe with this data the difference across wastewater treatment plants, and that's something that we can see here on the distribution of olfactometries. So on the first plot, top left, we can see the distribution of olfactometries for the 4 different plants. And also we have a PCA where we can see the other concentrations where they don't cluster together, meaning that they cannot the distribution is different, okay? And also what we can see on the right-hand side figure is the models that we have used, that we can see that they are different as well. It's a representation of the model. So each color represents a different model of a different wastewater treatment plant. So if we go to the following slide, which is the last one. So the idea here is that what it would be important is to try find a way to do calibration transfer. So we want to transfer the calibration that we do in one of the plants to the other plants. But this is just one of the scenarios for calibration transfer. And a different scenario also is, and that's something that also requires recalibration, is the 3 scenarios that we have here. So the first one is the system drift. So whenever you calibrate on a certain plant, and certain time goes by, let's say 1 month, 2 months, your sensors have changed due to drift or other reasons, and you want to use the old model in order to analyze your data. But to do that, you have to do certain transfer of calibration. So the second scenario will be what I mentioned. So the different plants. So you calibrate in a primary plant A, and you want to use that to a primary plant B. We have seen that we cannot do that directly. So we have to do certain transfer from one model to the other. And the third scenario is the scaling, in which that also happens to some extent when you calibrate for a certain instrument and you try to use it on an instrument that is built nominally exactly in the same way, but we know that chemical sensors do not respond exactly in the same way. So we will be able, we have to adapt this model in order to use it to these different instruments. So finally, just as a as a conclusion of this final part is that we are working on these calibration transfer models, which will improve and reduce the costs of calibration a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Agustín.
With the support of the European Union's LIFE program,